Hi, everyone. Yeah, that's the right spot. Hey, everyone. I'm Garm, CEO of GlowDollar, the stablecoin that funds public goods and charities. Today, I'm talking about something else. It's called Spinach. Something new we're working on. It's not really live yet, but just gonna already share this with you and see what you think. Very curious. So it's sort of the retro funding superchain public goods with a liquidity flywheel. And Spinach is a play on words of spin and ACH. And it's delicious, so that's also important. So we think of Spinach as a new liquid retro funding paradigm, which at the same time grows DEX liquidity, generates a lot of noise, and rewards your core community, specifically for chains. And we sort of take two typical things that chains do to grow their ecosystem, grant funding for builders and incentivizing liquidity through direct incentives. And we are trying to combine them into a bigger whole that then neutralizes each other's weaker points. And if you look at grant funding programs, they work great. There's a ton of them out there, and they often get builders to start working on apps, right? But after that initial grant, a lot of builders are going to struggle to find follow-on funding. So follow-up grants are often unavailable or hard to get. Retro funding is fantastic, but it's not exactly reliable. It's unpredictable how much you're going to get in funding. It's very slow. These cycles can often take a year. And the evaluation of the actual program is often very subjective. And as a consequence, you get a lot of projects hopping between chains to chase sort of that next new grant, which isn't great for anyone, not for the initial chain, but also not for an industry as a whole, because you're sort of stifling innovation. So really you want to sort of help builders in sort of sustainable grant funding or funding methods that really binds those builders to your chain, making them commit to it for the long run. On the other hand, if you look at direct liquidity incentive platforms like Merkle, they also work great on the short term to attract a lot of liquidity and TVL, especially amongst sort of these users that are going to bridge liquidity to get those incentives, like 20% plus APR. But we also see that once those incentives dry up or they fall behind to the competition, then these sort of incentive tourists are quick to move away to other opportunities. We saw this with Buy USD on Solana, but also a random campaign on Merkle that I looked at. They spent 170K over 3 months to incentivize a pair between USDC and wrapped ETH. They at some point got 1.5 million in TVL, but within 48 hours of that incentive drying up, all of those LPs were gone, and only 15K is now left. And that's, you know, a lot of money spent for a period of great TVL, but long-term, nothing happened. So if you look at why users supply liquidity and grow liquidity, right now, it's very much focused on sort of these short-term profit-driven incentives, LP trading fees, points, incentive farming, but you also have long-term profit-driven reasons for why users might provide liquidity. Like, for instance, if you believe that if you provide liquidity, the chain's going to succeed, and then you are also going to succeed because you hold that chain's tokens, or because you're building a project on that chain and you want it to have initial liquidity and even more liquidity. And then sort of the second level of that, where a project that is building on that chain that you believe in, you want to have more liquidity, because if that project succeeds, then you also succeed. And you really want to focus primarily on the long-term profit-driven things. In order to sort of get the users to actually maintain their liquidity in the long haul, you need to go beyond these direct liquidity incentive techniques and create sort of innovative, sustainable campaigns. Enter Spinach. Enter Spinach, the retro funding liquidity incentive protocol. So we sort of are rethinking funding builders and growing liquidity by allocating these liquidity incentive budgets not to the users that are providing the liquidity, but rather to builders, projects building on your chain, and then focusing on long-term liquidity providing instead of over these short-term incentives, and rewarding your core community, not the yield farming tourists that are going to show up and then move away straight after those incentives dry up. And the way that it works is through a gamified liquidity competition for projects building on your chain. So basically, you can choose a token whose liquidity you want to grow and then allocate an incentive budget and then tell all of these projects in your ecosystem, like you can get a part of this incentive budget. All you need to do is participate in the Spinach Flywheel program. And to do so, you're going to need to get your community to contribute liquidity for your token and the token that's being incentivized. Or they need to contribute liquidity on your platform. And then every day, the Spinach platform calculates the amount of liquidity each of these projects has contributed. And then every day, you also stream those rewards back to those projects. And then by streaming those rewards on a daily basis, the projects are going to be incentivized to rally their community every day even more and to talk about it. So it's going to generate a lot of noise. So here are some mock-ups, mostly for the projects that are going to be signing up, because you really want these projects to start rallying their community and their own users to provide that liquidity, and they're going to do that through different ways than this platform. This is more like a leaderboard that the projects can actually look at. Oh, okay, so we are now generating this much in rewards. What if we add a new campaign around this to get even a bigger slice of these rewards on a daily basis? So we believe this has 4 key benefits over direct liquidity incentives. One is it's a noise machine because projects are going to need to be talking about this all the time. It's also something that they can talk about, which projects tend to like. It really focuses on the core community within your chain because the people that are actually going to be participating in this project are by default true believers in the projects building on that chain and the chain that they're building on. And this means that the liquidity that's being provided is also going to be much more sticky. And what's super interesting, and something that I'll dive into a little bit more in a minute, is that there's also a dynamic of second order effects, because you're going to be funding projects that are going to be competing in this liquidity competition. Now these projects are incentivized to create sort of direct liquidity incentive programs for their own community. So you get sort of 2 tiers of liquidity incentives going on, and you as a chain or an ecosystem orchestrator only need to fund the projects building on top of your chain. Now, I'm of course with Glow Dollar, so I also need to share with you that if you combine Spinach with Glow Dollar, you get even more positive effects. Because if you use Glow Dollar or another stablecoin whose profits you control, and then you redistribute those profits instead of putting in new tokens, whenever the TVL increases for the chain, the projects, and the stablecoin automatically is going to generate more profits. And once you put that back into the flywheel program, you effectively get a virtuous flywheel that's going to grow. And you're going to see much more funding go towards the projects building on your chain. So with Spinach and Glow Dollar, you're also going to get a low-cost virtuous flywheel that's basically going to generate indefinite grant funding for all of the projects building on your chain. So we sort of came to this accidentally through an emergent experiment that we did on Celo, where it's called the Celo Liquidity Flywheel. I see some participants in the audience, which is cool. It was quite successful so far. So we basically said, okay, as a project building on Celo, you can get 2K or a slice of 2K in rewards every month. All you need to do is orchestrate liquidity for your token against Glow Dollar or orchestrate liquidity on your platform. And within 2 months, we saw that TVL for exclusively Glow Dollar went up to 33K through spending this 2K in incentives. And that's only Glow Dollar TVL. So there's also 33K of other tokens being locked there, which is really quite good. We also saw the second order effects flywheels. So the Commons protocols initiated a staking program where you can stake Commons and then get Glow dollar rewards. At the same time, the UbeSwap platform created a farm where you can get Glow dollar, or no, sorry, you stake Glow dollar and USDC, and then you get Ube rewards. And this is a direct liquidity incentive that they created all out of their own accord. We had nothing to do with this. So you get sort of multiple levels of incentives created within your ecosystem. So by focusing on long-term profit-driven initiatives, you also get short-term profit-driven liquidity incentives, which we were really excited to see, and we think it really amplifies the power and the potential of this program. So, for instance, if you compare it to that Merkle campaign that I shared earlier, if you extrapolate it to 25 times more than we spread per month, you would see that we not only generate more TVL that's being added, but we, perhaps more importantly, reach a lot more users within your community and reach a lot more projects that are building on top of your ecosystem. And in that sense, it's going to generate a lot of noise and excitement, which is really cool. Yeah, so that's Spinach. Some alpha for you. The Glow dollar rewards on Celo are going to grow to about 3K next month. So go figure out how you're going to orchestrate even more liquidity and get a larger part of those incentives. There, we are working on some super account Glow dollar yield opportunities, which are coming soon. And we're also looking to expand Spinach from just sort of this Celo V1 to a proper product within the Superchain in Q2 of 2025. Yeah, this is what sort of the leaderboard looks like. So if you are a project building on Celo, you can participate. And I think this was the current standing in February 11th. And just with 10K in liquidity, you can already get 700 in donations per month at the moment. Although these numbers have now changed. I know that UbeSwap is up to almost 15K in liquidity in Glow dollar. So it's due for an update. That's it. Anyone got any questions?
Questions? No, straightforward. Awesome.
Cool.
Actually, I do have a question. Thank you about it now. For the Celo instance, you measure the deposits of Glow dollar, correct? You just take a snapshot of that value?
Yes. So what we do on Celo, we customized it in a lot of different ways, and we sort of try to find what works. And we sort of have rules which say, as long as you have Glow dollar captured in a smart contract that's put to work somehow in a way that you govern, then it fits within the program requirements. Gotcha. But yeah, we count Glow dollar on chain.
But theoretically, you could do it with any chain, so it could also be the native chain token, and if you eat, it could be anything.
Yeah, so we started this with Glow dollar, but with Spinach, we wanted to open it up to any token. So if you want to incentivize ETH on your chain, you can do so, or OP, or
building like a platform to facilitate this, or how should we envision kind of?
Yeah, so let's see if I can go back quick enough, but we're in the very early stages. But the idea is that we'll have a platform where primarily the projects that are competing can sign up and see the current standings. There will also be a user-facing platform for those that actually provide the liquidity, but it's going to be less interesting because I anticipate that most of the liquidity will be provided through other interfaces created by the projects themselves. But yeah, this is basically an overview of all the projects that are in the program and how much liquidity they've orchestrated and how much they've earned so far that month.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, I arrived late and I'm going to make a question that is out of the scope of the presentation. I'm from Celo organization. We already create a pool between Glow dollar and Celo, which is actually the stablecoin of Colombia in Celo.
Yeah.
Do you think that it could be possible that we created a pool with very low liquidity so far? Do you think it could be possible that Glow dollar help us maybe to increase increase the liquidity on it and maybe generate, kind of create an incentive for this liquidity pool?
It depends. So I think it needs to sort of fit within the requirements that we have on Celo. So it would need to be either C Corp is a token you created,
No, it's
or right, or it's locked through a platform that you control. So I know that Refi Medellin, for instance, has this lending platform. So they have created that, and then that counts. But if you're just doing it on Uniswap, who have their own sort of front end through it, and that's not something that you've created, then currently that wouldn't be eligible for this program. But if you were to create, let's say, a farm or something that then directs it towards Uniswap, that could still work. That's similar to how Uniswap does it as well, right? Like ultimately, this sort of farm on Uniswap is really just something that you can deposit Glow Dollar and USDC in, but ultimately it goes into their own liquidity pool as well. So yeah, you could apply that pattern too, and then I would say it's eligible.